Hello, Algebra 1, and here we go with the last big unit of the year. It's called Quadratics. It's a 10 lesson unit, so it's a big one. We're going to start with graphing. The first 2 lessons are about graphing, actually the first 3. So learning targets are, I can find the middle of a parabola and I can find the vertex of a parabola and determine if that is a high point or low point. All right, so this first problem here is actually from first semester. It says graph that function by creating a table of values and then graphing. Before graphing, you might remember this. I don't know depending on who your teacher was. I know I taught this. We should know that this graph will have a U shape, okay, because of the exponent of 2. All right, because of the exponent of 2, it's called a quadratic. So all quadratics will have a U shape. Now, we also know that this parabola will open up since the A value is positive. Now, you might be like, what are you talking about here? We've talked about A, B, and C back in Unit 7 with quadratics. We were factoring. The A value is the value attached to x squared. So in this case, the A value is 2. The B value is the one that's attached to x. There is none, so it's 0 here. And the C value is the one that doesn't have a variable. So in this case, it's -5. You look at whether the parabola is going to open up or down by the A value. A value positive opens up. So A is positive, opens up. A negative, it opens down. Now, what do I mean by opens up and opens down? Opens up means like this. Opens down means like this. You can see those here. Okay. Continuing with the blanks, that means this parabola has a minimum value. All right, so this one has a minimum. You can probably guess the opposite. If A is negative, it's going to have a maximum. Why? Well, look at the graph right there. That bottom point is the lowest that parabola goes. On the other one, on the A is negative, that point right there is the highest that parabola will go. So minimum, maximum. Okay, now making a table of values. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. We chose for x, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. You probably remember that. And then you just plug those in for x and you get y values. Now I'm going to do that really quickly because I know you know how to do that. So -2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And then 8 minus 5 is 3. -1 squared. -1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. 2 minus 5 is -3. 0 squared is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Minus 5 is -5. 1 times itself is 1. Times 2 is 2. 2 minus 5 is -3. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 5 is 3. And then I'm just going to transfer those over to the graph. Left 2 up 3. Left 1 down 3. 0 down 5. Right 1 down 3. Right 2 up 3. And then I connect them, and there's my U, like we were expecting. Okay. So let's talk about that. The parabola here is symmetric. Meaning there is a line you can draw that cuts the parabola in half. That line, and I'm going to put that back on the graph here. That line, and I'm going to do it in red, that can cut the parabola in half is called the axis of symmetry. Okay, that's big idea number 1 for this unit. The axis of symmetry cuts the parabola in half. It's always a vertical line. That cuts it in half. All right. Now, you may remember me talking about how B was 0 in that previous problem. In this problem, you got A is 1, right? B is 6, and C is 5. All right, let's go ahead and make a table of values like we did on the previous one. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to work. I'm just going to show you real quick that it's not going to work. Negative 2 squared is 4. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. So 4 minus 12 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. Negative 1 squared is 1. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. So 1 minus 6 is negative 5. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. 0 squared plus 0 is 0 plus 5 is 5. 1 squared is 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 5 is 12. 2 squared is 4 plus 12 is 16 plus 5 is 21. All right, so if I'm putting those on the graph, negative 2, negative 3, negative 1, 0, 0, 5, and then it goes off the graph. And you're like, that does not make a U. You're correct, right? It goes way up here. Okay, why is this not U-shaped? We did not find the middle of the parabola. Okay, the middle of the parabola is where the parabola changes direction. This one, if you look at it, did not change direction here. The point at which this occurs, that changing of direction, is called the vertex. I used that word in the learning targets. That's big idea number 2. And here's big idea number 3 right away. The axis of symmetry always goes through the vertex, always. So I'm not going to continue this problem. We just know that we have to find the middle, okay? All right, so therefore, the first thing you do when graphing quadratics is find the axis of symmetry and the coordinates of the vertex. That's going to be your first step in graphing all the time. I am going to abbreviate axis of symmetry as AOS. Okay, just so you're aware. And today we're not going to go completely into graphing a quadratic. We're only going to focus on getting set up to graph a quadratic. That's why this is part 1. So how do I do that? How do I find that axis of symmetry? There is a formula. The formula is very key. You need to make this stand out as much as you can. The formula is x equals negative b over 2a. Okay. Notice the axis of symmetry is a vertical line. This is why the formula starts with x equals. If you remember back in the first semester, we had x equals a number that was a vertical line. That's why this formula is x equals. The a and b, sorry, come from the general formula quadratic, which was ax squared plus bx plus c. We talked about that already in these notes. All right. Since the axis of symmetry goes through the vertex, when you find the axis of symmetry, you have also found the x coordinate of the vertex. To find the y coordinate, to find the other coordinate, use your value that you just found and plug it into the original function. All right. So some practice problems, and you're gonna get very sick of this probably. Write the equation for the axis of symmetry and find the coordinates of the vertex for each quadratic. So one thing, especially here at the beginning, that I like to do is write out what a equals, what b equals, and what c equals. So in this case, a is 2, b is 8, c is 11. And now I'm going to go over here, and a lot of you are not going to do this, but this is a good habit to get into. I'm going to take out b and I'm going to take out a. Put parentheses there. The things that are always there are the negative, the fraction bar, and the 2, and the x equals. Put those in. And now just fill in those parentheses with the right values. B goes on top, so that's 8. A goes on the bottom, it's 2. And now simplify that. So negative 8, 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. So x equals negative 2. You need the whole equation. X equals negative 2. The vertex is a point. And nice thing is I can just take that negative 2 and put it right here. How do I get the y coordinate? I just plug it in. So I'm going to switch colors here. So 2 times negative 2 squared plus 8 times 2, negative 2, sorry. Plus 11. Negative 2 squared is 4. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. 2 times 4 is 8. Minus 16 or plus negative 16 mean the same thing. 8 minus 16 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 11 is 3. So the vertex is at negative 2, 3. Okay. We're going to clear that out of the way. Number 2, A, B, and C. And this is why I do this. A lot of people are going to say A is 5 and B is negative 8. It's not. Okay. B is the one that's attached to just X. There is none of that here. So that's B is 0. C is negative 8. This one's actually pretty easy because when you're finding the axis of symmetry, what goes in for B? 0. Doesn't really matter what goes in for A. It does, but in this case, you get 0 over 10. You just get 0. Okay. And then the vertex is 0, comma. We'll switch colors here. So then I'm just going to do 5 times 0. This again should be really easy because anything with an x, this whole thing becomes 0. And you're left with 0 minus 8. So it's just negative 8. So the vertex is at 0, negative 8. Okay. Go ahead and clear it again. Last one on this, these types of problems. Some people look at this right away and say, oh, great. The A value is a fraction. Don't freak out about that. It's not too bad. Some fractions are bad, but this one's not that bad. You'll see why here in a second. So B is negative 6. Make sure you include that negative. Okay. And then A is 1/2. So negative 6 actually makes positive 6. And then 2 times 1/2 is just 1. So 6 divided by 1 is just 6. And then the vertex, I know that X is 6. I need to find Y. Okay, I'm going to need some space, I know. So six squared is 36, half of 36. Minus 36 plus 13. Half of 36 is 18. Minus 36 plus 13. 18 minus 36 is negative 18. Plus 13 is negative 5. Okay. There you go with that. Now, a lot of people are going to see these word problems and freak out. Don't. Okay. These are very, very easy. A tennis player hits a ball over the net. The ball leaves his racket 0.5 meters above the ground. The equation that is right there gives the ball's height. And I am going to tell you what these things mean in the problem. The ball's height is called h. So that height of the ball is changing, right? At any time t. So t is in seconds. What direction will this parabola open? It's going to open down. Why? Because the a value is negative. The path of this ball is going to go like this, right? It's an upside down U. Now that means that this is going to have a maximum point, right? It's going to have a highest point right there. Now, if I were putting this on a graph, right? When will the ball be at the highest point in its path? So the highest point is right there. We're looking for the x value at that point, or the x value at the vertex, right? The highest point would be the vertex. The x value at the vertex, well, how do we find that? That's the AOS. Basically, it's the exact same thing we just did in the previous three problems. So the axis of symmetry is what you need for this part A. So A in this case is negative 4.9, B is 3.8, and C is 0.5. So X equals negative B over 2A. B is again 3.8. A is negative 4.9. So that's negative 3.8 divided by negative 9.8. So then you just do the calculator here. Negative 3.8 divided by negative 9.8, and you get 0.3877. Okay. So we're going to say 0.39 seconds. Positive, right? Okay, so round into the nearest hundredth. Normally I'll say what to round it to. I didn't say it here, but 0.39 seconds is what it's going to take for the ball to get to its highest point. How high will the ball be at that time? So now we're looking for the y value of the vertex. So all we need to do there is just plug it in. Like I said, the exact same thing we did in the previous three problems. So it's going to be a little bit nastier here. So negative 4.9 times 0.39 squared plus 3.8 times 0.39 plus 0.5. All right, so 0.39 squared is 0.1521. And I'm just going to go ahead and multiply it by negative 4.9. And I get negative, and I'm not going to round yet, negative 0.74529 plus 1.482 plus 0.5. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that in the calculator again. And I get 1.236, so about 1.24 meters. So it's about 1.24 meters above the ground. I will tell you that most of the word problems are going to have better numbers, but I wanted to show you that it's possible that you don't have good numbers. Okay, that's the end of this video, and part 2 will be next.